Most people don't know this, but there's a brain structure called the anterior midcingulate cortex. Scientists are starting to think of it not just as one of the seats of willpower, but perhaps actually the seat of the will to live.
Imagine waking up tomorrow. You're out with a stronger brain than the one you have today, not because you learned a new skill, not because you read another self-help book, but because you chose to do something you didn't want to do. What if every difficult decision, every workout you almost skipped, every urge you resisted, or every uncomfortable conversation you didn't run away from was literally reshaping your brain, not metaphorically, literally? Today, neuroscience is beginning to reveal something extraordinary. Willpower isn't something you're born with. It isn't a personality trait, and it certainly isn't reserved for elite athletes or Navy SEALs. It's something you build, one difficult choice at a time. And by the end of this video, you'll understand why most people never become mentally strong and exactly how to train your brain to become one of the few who do. How do you build your willpower? The science of mental strength. Chapter 1. The biggest lie about willpower. People think that mentally strong people wake up every morning feeling motivated. They imagine David Goggins jumps out of bed excited. They think successful entrepreneurs love every second of the grind. They believe athletes enjoy every brutal workout, but that's not reality. The biggest misconception about discipline is that disciplined people feel different. They don't. They simply respond differently. Your brain doesn't wake up asking, how can I become a better version of myself today? It asks something much older. Something much simpler. How can I survive while using the least amount of energy possible? Because for hundreds of thousands of years, saving energy meant surviving. Like your brain still carries that programming today. Like that's why your bed feels warmer, like your phone feels more attractive, junk food feels irresistible, and why procrastination feels comfortable. Your brain isn't trying to ruin your life, it's trying to conserve energy. The problem is, modern life rewards the exact opposite. Success belongs to people who repeatedly choose discomfort over comfort. These people weren't born different. They simply trained a part of their brain that most people never use. Chapter 2. The hidden muscle inside your brain. Most people know about the prefrontal cortex is responsible for planning, decision-making, and self-control. But recently, scientists have become fascinated by another area, one that almost nobody talks about, the anterior midcingulate cortex. Don't worry about the complicated name. Think of it this way. If your brain were a gym, this would be the room where mental toughness is built. For years, scientists noticed something strange. Athletes often have a larger anterior midcingulate cortex. People who successfully lose weight show growth in this region. People who continue challenging themselves throughout life maintain it better as they age. And here's the most fascinating part. This area doesn't grow when you simply work hard. It grows when you do something you genuinely don't want to do. That difference changes everything. Your brain doesn't reward effort alone. It rewards resistance, the feeling of wanting to quit and refusing to quit anyway. That's the signal. That's the adaptation. That's where change begins. So, if suffering is the stimulus, what exactly is happening inside your brain when you refuse to give up? That's where the science becomes truly fascinating. Chapter 3. Why your brain hates difficult things. Let's answer the question we left you with. Why does your brain fight you every single time you try to improve your life? Why does going to the gym feel difficult while scrolling social media for an hour feels effortless? The answer has almost nothing to do with laziness. It has everything to do with survival. Your brain was never designed to make you successful. It was designed to keep you alive. For hundreds of thousands of years, wasting energy could mean death. Running without a reason, lifting heavy objects, or exposing yourself to discomfort made no evolutionary sense. So your brain developed a simple strategy: avoid unnecessary effort whenever possible. That ancient survival mechanism is still active today. Only now, instead of saving you from starvation, it's keeping you from your goals. Every time you decide to study, exercise, wake up early, or resist temptation, your brain interprets it as a potential threat to comfort. And that's exactly why resistance appears. Resistance isn't proof that you're weak, it's proof that your brain is working exactly as it was designed to. But here's the incredible part: you can retrain it. Chapter 4. Your brain changes every time you choose discomfort. For decades, scientists believed the adult brain barely changed. Today, we know that's completely wrong. Your brain is constantly rewiring itself. This process is called neuroplasticity. Every decision you repeat strengthens certain neural pathways while weakening others. Think of your brain like a forest. The first time you walk through it, you have to fight through thick bushes. The path barely exists. But if you walk it every single day, eventually it becomes a road. That's exactly how habits are formed. Not through motivation, through repetition. But here's what makes willpower different. It's not enough to simply repeat an action. The action has to contain friction. It has to be something you genuinely don't want to do. That's the signal your brain responds to.
If you hate the cold water, if you're afraid of drowning and you get into water and put your head under, then your anterior mid and survive, then the anterior midcingulate cortex gets bigger. But if you don't do it the next day, or if you do it the next day and you enjoy it, guess what? The anterior midcingulate cortex shrinks again.
Did you catch that? This might be one of the most misunderstood ideas in self-improvement. It's not the cold shower that changes you. It's not the workout. It's not the artificial task itself. It's your relationship with discomfort. If you love running, running isn't training your willpower anymore. If you love lifting weights, those workouts are building muscle, but they're not necessarily building no toughness. Your brain adapts to whatever feels uncomfortable. Once something becomes easy, it stops sending the same growth signal. That's why elite performers constantly seek new challenges, not because they enjoy suffering, but because they've learned that comfort is where growth ends. Growth always lives just outside your current comfort zone. Chapter 5. The Missing Ingredient. Here's where most motivational videos get it wrong. They tell you to work harder, but effort by itself isn't enough. Imagine two people lifting exactly the same weight. One loves every second of it. The other wants to quit after every repetition. Physically, they're doing the same workout. Neurologically, they're having completely different experiences because one is fighting resistance and the other isn't. That's why two people can do the exact same task, yet only one becomes mentally stronger. It's not about the activity, it's about the internal battle, and that's the battle your brain remembers.
I think people go, oh, I do hard things. I do sets to failure. I love doing sets to failure. I even like force reps. Anything you like to do is not going to enhance this aspect of willpower.
Think about your own life. What are you avoiding right now? Is it making that phone call, starting your business, going back to the gym, studying for an exam, or having a difficult conversation? That thing you've been postponing might be the exact thing your brain needs most, not because success is guaranteed, but because every time you face resistance, you're teaching your brain a new identity. You're no longer becoming someone who waits to feel motivated, you're becoming someone who acts anyway, and that changes everything. But if that's true, why do so many people quit after just a few days? Why does willpower disappear? Even when we desperately want to change, the answer isn't motivation, it's dopamine. And once you understand how dopamine really works, you'll never look at discipline the same way again. Chapter 6. Why motivation always fails. Let's be honest. How many times have you said this time will be different? Maybe on New Year's Day, maybe on a Monday, maybe after watching a motivational video for a few days, everything feels easy. You wake up early, you eat healthy, you work harder. Then, without warning, it disappears. The motivation, the excitement, the belief, and you start wondering, what's wrong with me? The answer is nothing. Motivation was never designed to last. It's an emotion, just like happiness, anger, or excitement, and no emotion lasts forever. So if your entire life depends on feeling motivated, eventually you'll stop. Successful people don't depend on motivation. They depend on systems. More importantly, they depend on identity. They stop asking, well, what do I feel like doing today? And start asking, what would the person I'm becoming do? That's a completely different question because identity survives long after motivation disappears. Chapter 7. David Goggins was right. Now think about something David Goggins said.
You were blessed with a strong mind. The hell are you talking about? I was blessed with a strong mind. You developed that over years, decades of suffering.
That sentence destroys one of the biggest myths in self-improvement. People love believing that successful people are gifted because it's comforting. If greatness is genetic, then failure isn't our fault, but neuroscience tells a different story. Every difficult decision leaves a tiny mark on your brain, or one decision won't transform you. Neither will 10, but hundreds, thousands, over months and years. That's how identity changes. Think about learning to drive. At first, every movement requires conscious effort. The mirrors, the steering wheel, the pedals, the traffic. Your brain feels overwhelmed. Months later, you're driving while having a conversation. The task didn't become easier. Your brain became better. Willpower works exactly the same way. No one is born disciplined. They become disciplined, one uncomfortable decision after another. Chapter 8. The 30-Day Willpower Experiment. Here's something interesting. What if, instead of trying to change your whole life, you focused on training your brain just like you would train a muscle? Not with huge challenges, but with tiny moments of discomfort. Because your brain doesn't care how impressive the challenge looks, it only cares whether you wanted to avoid it. Here's a simple experiment. For the next 30 days, every single day, choose one thing you genuinely don't want to do. Not something dangerous, not something extreme, just uncomfortable. Maybe it's taking a cold shower for 30 seconds, walking instead of driving, taking the stairs, reading 10 pages instead of scrolling social media, cleaning your room immediately instead of saying later, making that difficult phone call, waking up when the alarm rings, finishing one more set, holding a plank for 10 seconds longer. Not because these things are magical, because every time you say, oh, I don't want to, and then do it anyway, you're casting another vote for the person you're becoming. And eventually those votes become your identity. Small victories create strong identities create extraordinary lives. Chapter 9. There is no hack.
There's no fucking hack. Yeah, the hack is gonna suck.
That might be one of the most honest sentences ever spoken because we live in a world obsessed with shortcuts. The perfect morning routine, the perfect supplement, the perfect productivity app, the perfect habit, the perfect book. But none of those things can make difficult decisions feel easy. And maybe they shouldn't because the discomfort isn't the obstacle, it's the training. Every moment you resist comfort, you're paying the price for becoming someone stronger. That's the investment. And like every investment, the reward comes later, not immediately. But there's one final piece that almost nobody talks about, the conversation happening inside your own head. Because even if you understand the science and even if you build better habits, there's still one enemy that follows you everywhere, your own voice. And learning to master that voice might be the greatest act of willpower you'll ever perform. Chapter 10. The hardest battle happens inside your head. Most people think discipline is about controlling your body. It isn't. It's about learning to respond to the voice inside your head. Like that voice never disappears. Even after years of discipline, it still whispers, skip today. You deserve a break. Start tomorrow. It doesn't matter. The difference is that mentally strong people stop believing everything that voice says. They hear it, but they don't obey it. That's a skill, not a gift. And perhaps that's the greatest form of freedom a human being can achieve, because the moment you stop being controlled by every impulse, every emotion, and every excuse, you begin to control your own life.
I woke up like every human being does and goes, man, it's the conversation in your head. You gotta build your will.
Think about that for a second. Even David Goggins, someone the world sees as mentally unbreakable, admits he doesn't wake up feeling invincible. He wakes up having the same internal conversation that you do. The difference isn't that he has fewer excuses. The difference is that he has practiced answering them differently. That's an incredibly hopeful idea, because it means you're not fighting against your personality. You're training a response, and responses can be changed. Chapter 11. The missing feeling. Why do so many people, even successful people, feel empty? Why do people with money, status, cars, and houses still feel like something is missing? Perhaps it's because achievement isn't the same as self-discovery. You can spend your entire life avoiding difficulty and still collect success. But deep down, you'll always wonder, what could I have become? That question haunts more people than failure ever will.
Even the richest of rich, who have everything, they always ask me this question. I feel like I'm missing something.
Maybe what people are missing isn't another achievement. Maybe they're missing evidence that they can trust themselves, evidence that they can survive discomfort, evidence that they can become someone stronger than they were yesterday. Confidence isn't built by positive thinking. It's built by keeping promises to yourself. Every promise you keep becomes another brick in the foundation of your identity. Final chapter. You against you. Everything we've talked about today, the neuroscience, the anterior midcingulate cortex, the habits, the discomfort, and the identity, all points to one simple truth. Your greatest opponent has never been another person. It's always been the easier version of yourself, the version that chooses comfort, the version that waits, the version that hesitates, the version that says maybe tomorrow. Every day, those two versions compete, and every decision casts a vote, not just for what you'll do today, but for who you'll become.
You find it in the suck. It's you against you.
One day, you'll look back on your life, and you won't remember how comfortable you were. You won't remember how many excuses sounded reasonable. You'll remember the moments you almost quit and didn't, because that's where your character was built, not in comfort, not in certainty, but in the quiet moments when nobody was watching and you chose to do the hard thing anyway. So tomorrow morning, when your alarm goes off, when your brain tells you, hey, yo, I stay in bed, remember this. Like, your brain is listening to every decision you make. Every difficult choice is another repetition. Every repetition is another neural pathway. Every neural pathway is another step toward becoming the person you want to be. You don't build willpower in one heroic moment. You build it one uncomfortable decision at a time. The strongest version of you is built one hard choice at a time.